of the world, top of the pop the.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of our Wonder Women podcast, the main podcast for the business magazine forwomen.com. In our podcast, just like in our magazine, we're focused on promoting women's voices in business, technology, STEM, politics, sports, arts, and culture. My name is Monica Antohi. I'm the founder of the business magazine forwomen.com and today's host. Today we're talking about the boxes we put ourselves into, the boxes that society assigns for us, the categories that society assigns for us, and how to break out of those constraints and become human. We'll talk about the categories that we're assigned and what do those mean, and how to transcend and improve upon how we define ourselves as human, outside of constraints, outside of boxes, outside of male, female, outside of mother, daughter, outside of any sort of constraints, regardless of what those boxes were that were assigned to us, and regardless of what boxes we're not even aware that were assigned to us. In today's podcast, we're talking with Runa Magnusdottir, our first Icelandic Wonder Woman. She's the founder of the No More Boxes movement, co-author of the book, The Story of Boxes, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. She's also the founder of the Changemakers, a very important organization that we'll be touching upon and we'll be discussing quite heavily during the podcast. But before I take you to one of the most important conversations you'll hear, and definitely one of the most interesting and mind-expanding podcasts we've done at Wonder Woman Podcast, I'd like to take care of some administrative things. We are now a project at ifundwomen.com. So for anybody who would like to support us and see us succeed in doing what we're doing, changing media so we can influence society into accepting women's roles as complete roles as business and women in business and women in technology and mothers and business women, and help us transcend what the language has been and what the boxes that women have been assigned when it comes to media, head on over to ifundwomen.com and look for our project called The Business Magazine for Women. You can find us on there, and we would appreciate your support, obviously, and we would appreciate you sharing it with everybody that you know, because you know that this is an important conversation to be had, and we're the only ones doing it. So head on over to ifundwomen.com, look for The Business Magazine for Women project under new media, and show your support. That's it. Now let's get you to our very, very important conversation for today, and I'm hoping you'll enjoy it and you'll take as much out of the conversation as I had. So enjoy, and here's Runa. So let's introduce you to Runa, because the conversation alone is super important for today's businesswomen, and I think that it's important for everybody that's listening to pay very close attention to what Runa has to say, because besides being an author and besides being a founder, she's also a woman in business. She's a coach and a branding expert. So let's see what she's got to say and how she's planning on changing the world. So welcome, Runa Magnusdottir, to our podcast, and hello, Iceland.
Oh, thank you so much, Monica, and Iceland greets you. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your podcast and part of your beautiful community of Wonder Women.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think you're one of them, so let's get to it. Who is Runa Magnusdottir, and how do you get to do what you're doing? So give us a little bit of background and to what brought you to do what you're doing right now.
That's such a good question. Thank you for giving me that question. And thank you for pronouncing my name so beautifully.
I hope I messed it up.
You did it perfectly. You know, being Magnusdottir, it's today something that many more people are actually getting used to the naming system that we have in Iceland due to basically the tourist industry and the whole lot. But I'm starting to use that more today. To make things easy for people, I used to call me just Runa Magnus, because they felt they could handle that. And now I'm really seeing like people like you, they can say Magnusdottir. I might actually need to change that again. Anyway, so thank you so much, because you know how it is. And to tell you a little bit about myself, so yeah, I am Icelandic, and you know, Monica, if I would describe myself, I used to describe myself as being a creative doer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm born and raised in Iceland. I'm born in an environment that has all the freedom, freedom to be who you are. I mean, we have created an environment where today we've been, for the last 9 consecutive years, we've been ranking number 1 at the World Economic Forum as the best place for women, with gender equality. And I would actually say it's the best place for men to live in.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But
yeah, so I would like to twist that around a little bit. So I have that background. Today, I would actually like, really what I feel that I am today, I would like to turn that, what my normal thing and say I'm a creative doer, into I'm a creative being. And I'm saying that because approximately a year ago, I stood in front of that place in my life where I felt like I couldn't continue doing what I was doing. It was, I have a lot of success behind me, and I've been very fortunate in my career and in my life. That's not a thing. But, when it comes to that place in your life where you feel, there's something more, there's a little voice inside of you that is just keeps on almost like nagging in there. And I decided to stop and listen. And I felt there was more that I needed to do, and I asked myself a question. I dared to ask myself that question, actually, that changed everything. And the question that I asked myself was, okay, Runa, you're coming to this place in your life, and you're coming to probably the third quarter of my career. And what is it that now you want to put your focus on? And I moved the question into, what is the change that I want to see in this world? What is the things that you want to see? And as I've been huge advocate for feminine leadership, for gender equality, basically seeing the best in people being used, I noticed something inside of me when I was asking myself this question. I noticed that despite the fact that I've been working so hard on that issue, I noticed there had been a blind spot. And the blind spot is, with all the talk of feminine leadership, we haven't been talking about men.
Correct.
And as a result of that, with feminine leadership, for me, feminine leadership has to do with co-creation, collaboration, those feminine soft terms. But we have somehow not been able to bring the man in. And as a result of that, it's becoming a competition. A competition of, yeah. And I think when I really went deep into this, I thought, what I really want to do now, I want to get together a group of like-minded people. I wanted that people to be an international group of thought leaders, of people that share similar values and have similar visions as myself. And I want to get them together and see what we can do as a collective group. And I just did that. So we are 8 of us, the change makers. We come from we come from 6 countries. So it's an international group. And as we started to work together on who are we really, we found the common ground. What we saw was we are coming together to empower humans to be the change that they want to see in their world. And as we started to dig into that, so what does that really mean? We saw the change that we are talking about is a change that needs to be sustainable. It needs to be inclusive, and it needs to be magnetic, meaning irresistible attractive. And that's what we do. And from that,
let's talk about how to do that, because that's the important part. So first of all, it's an international group. I saw whoever's in there. You have guys and girls. I mean, you have women and men on in the Changemakers group, and they're not. I mean, it seems to be. You know, I don't remember if I've seen anybody from like the U.S. or Canada or the U.K.
There is one from U.S.
There's one from U.S. I might have skipped through it, but yeah. So how are you bringing these people together? Hold on, there's like a few questions. How do you bring these people together? What is the main goal, and how are you doing that? And like, do you have like 5-year goals, or like where's the scope of this, and how do you see this progressing? So let's start with who are the people and how are you getting them together and for the Changemakers?
So this is a great question. So going back to how did I get them together? So I am a co-founder of a network called the Network for Transformational Leaders.
I know.
In that network, there are people who are doing fabulous stuff all over the world, helping people and businesses, organizations to transform. And there I have, those are my peers. And as I was getting to know them always better and better, I was looking at what are the things that they bring to the table. What are the things that they have that I don't have? What are the things that this one has but the other one does not have? So basically looking at the diversity that we could basically bring into the table. So out of the 8 of us, 6 of us are part of the network. The other 2 are people that have been in my personal network, have been my partners in business throughout the years. So basically what I was really looking at was finding the best of the best in this industry, and at the same time I wanted diversity. And I pretty much, I'm just going to be cocky and say I pretty much feel that those people are, they're amazing. They're amazing. Yeah.
You're achieving equality. Well, you're achieving gender diversity with that group for sure. All right. So, what are your goals with that group? What are you planning on doing, and how are you implementing that? Because it's a very important group, and I think it's needed pretty much all over the world. So
yeah. Well, here's our main goal comes from creating the basically. At the moment, it's about doing the No More Boxes global awareness movement.
That's super important.
Yeah, and if I tell you a little bit about that, is that okay? That I tell you about how that came to be? Because I think it's important. So, it's only a year ago since I founded the Changemakers, and we started to look at this and co-create things together. And pretty soon after we got ourselves together, we were invited to do a call to action panel at the Global Summit Impact Leadership that was held at the United Nations in March. And as we are, our participants there were really our goal, or our role there was to look at how can nations, how can the world achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals in time? Big question. We were like,
really big questions. Yeah.
Really big questions. And we decided to face our own fear of answering that question, going really deep and looking at, so okay, let's look at this. What do we really need to do to unleash the powers in this world, so that we can see the sustainability that we want, so that we can see the education for everyone, so we can see the gender equality, all of those things, all of those 17 goals. And we saw all of that. And when we really started to dig, it was really, we saw, okay, what is stopping us? What is stopping human beings to be fully who they are, to step up their game and to use their talent, their experience, their knowledge to the fullest. And we saw it was the boxes, the often isolated and limiting boxes that are dividing us into us and them, into all of these different invisible categories. And as a result of that, things are happening really, really slowly. And out of that whole conversation, the hashtag No More Boxes movement started. And myself and one of the change makers, Nicholas Haynes, who is the founder of Five Institute in the UK, we decided to write a book about it. And that's the book that you talked about. And I have a slight change in your information because...
I do apologize. Yes.
No, that was not the thing. You said that correctly. We just decided to push forward the launch of the book.
Oh.
So, yeah, the launch of the book is going to be on the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, the 11th of the 11th.
Wow, okay. That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah. So, but the whole thing about the book is to dig into these various stories, and we look at why are we doing this? I mean, what are the drivers underneath? And how can we, is that we've really been looking at, is it a way that we can move ourselves from what we call a bad or an ugly box to a better box, more fulfilling box? And that's basically what it's all about. Because let's face it, Monica, we're always going to put ourselves into a box. But if we are aware of the box and what is the box that I'm placing either you or myself into, that's a whole another story.
Let's talk about some specific boxes that need to kind of disintegrate and just kind of let everybody out of those constraints. Tell me which ones you're seeing as imperative to go away, like something that needs to stop. The us versus them. You mentioned that, and I fully agree. There's no us versus them. It's never been an us versus them. It's always been all of us together, because we're all of us on this planet, and we're all of us hurtling through space at thousands of miles per second, and we're all in this together. So how do we make life better for all of us? What boxes do we need to get rid of? Pick a couple of those boxes. Let's talk about it.
Oh, there are so many. There's so many of these boxes, and sometimes it's like the Russian dolls. There's a box inside of a box inside of a box. And that is also extremely just interesting to look at. I think if we look at the gender box, most of us relate to that we are either a man or a woman. There are people that don't do either, but I think they still would consider themselves. They could benefit from the conversation, even if they don't see themselves as either. But let's look at that. What I was recently asked I think it's called We Are the City, the platform, asked me to write an article around the gender box and how it can be stopping us. And I was sharing that this thing about how we tend to have, well, I'm not going to generalize and say this all over the world. I see this very clearly in the English-speaking world, at least. And that's the thing when it comes to marriage and weddings. For some reason, you hear the terminology, it is her big day.
Yeah. It's not just her big day. It's both her big day. Yeah.
If everything is energy, Monica, if every action that we take is energy, if every word that we use has an energy to it, what are we doing by talking about her day?
Well, it's coming from a very long history of women being treated like cattle, literally, like objects that you can trade and increase, the father's
Are we in a world today where women are there?
There might be some countries that still kind of treat women like that, but for the most part, I think we're kind of out of that. Hopefully.
Wouldn't you think so? Wouldn't you think so? And what are we doing for men when we do this? What
They
are we?
Our protectors. Do we need protecting anymore?
Do we need that? So here's the thing. If we don't change how we talk, if we don't include man in the conversations, if we're just blind spotted doing something that, yeah, like you said, way back when was needed, but is not needed now, and definitely if this is what we want to co-create together into the future, we have to be careful as well, because that's what we're bringing in. We're taking that with us.
Correct.
And as a result of that, what about the man who would love to plan their big day? Are they being pushed to the side? Are they allowed? And if we're pushing them aside, where's that? What's that? What are we telling? What are we saying about marriage? What are we saying to the world about that's supposed to be the happiest day for the couple?
Both of them, yeah. And you're correct, because that sets precedent. Okay, so some men really don't want to have anything to do with the planning of the wedding, but most have opinions about this and this and this and this and this. Yeah. And you're correct, if you don't allow that partnership, even on the wedding planning, how are you going to have a partnership later on in the marriage?
Yeah.
The wedding is one day in your life.
It's one day in their life, exactly. And you're setting the example. Yeah, but I also wondered, and I asked so many of my male friends about this on a one-on-one conversation. And I asked, tell me really honestly, the terminology is this is their last day of freedom.
Sorry. Mhm.
Yeah. And then it's her day. Yeah. Following his last day of freedom. And then we are surprised to see that there are divorces, that there are actually, that men are now, they are so held back. They're still in a conflict of, am I allowed to do this? Can I go out? Can I cry? How are we going to change this if we're not changing the basics, if we're not aware of how we are treating the people that we love the most? And I really bet that if it would be, once it become a common thing, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a common thing. We are going to be changing it into, this is their day, and they're going into this new path in their lives, and that's going to be the language in the future. I'm telling you. But might take some time to do that. But the moment each and every one of us starts to do that, that's going to change. And once that becomes the common thing, I know there are men out there that are going to be just, they're so grateful for having that, because then they are going to be accepted. It's always difficult to be different.
It is, and you're bringing up a very good point. We kind of forced men into a specific box, right?
Yeah.
This is what you're allowed to do, and this is what you're not allowed to do. And we did the same thing with women. So just on gender, we're just strictly talking gender. I'm not even going to go into anything else for now, but we're just talking gender. Because we put men in that specific box, it makes it very, very difficult to have equality. Okay, because they cannot relinquish their concept of the box, because that doesn't make sense with the equality. So equality means everybody's equal. Everybody's like, they're going to help at home. They're partners at home. They're partners at work. They're promoting each other. They're helping each other. I'm just on a relationship part. But if you're keeping the guy in the box well, no, he's still going to, do what the society tells him that the box is about, right? Which means he has to provide, he has to go to work, he's, not going to take time off to help you at home. So all the equality stuff goes out the door.
Yep.
So how do we get away from that box? Obviously, awareness, like you just made a very good point. I think awareness is vital in this conversation. So I'm so glad to have you on and so we can talk about this.
Well,
you guys.
Here's the thing. We, first of all, I think every single one of us on this planet, we have to stop and listen to our heart and listen to what our heart is saying when we ask, how do we want this world to be? What is it? What is the thing that I would like to see different in my world? Is really what you have to think of. You can think about the big world, and then because if you're just going to think about the big world, you're most likely going to go into, well, I can't do anything about that, and then you just go back into the same track and on you go. But if you think about what is the change that I want to see in my world? What is that? And if you have children, what are the things that I want to see is going to be different for them, my ancestors to come? And when you look at that and you look deep into that, and this has to do with both men and women, we have to look at that, all of us. What is it that we want to see?
Agreed.
And from that place, we can ask ourselves that question: what is the role that I want to take in creating that change?
Yeah, and like you said, the children. If we don't talk to them, if we don't give them the right tools, they're going to continue the same conversations we've had. Yeah. They're going to still use her big day, his last day of freedom as, because they're not just words, like we just talked about. They're energy things into motion. Yeah. So if we change the conversation, if we're aware of it now, it's going to help not just us now, but it's going to help the next generation not to deal with the same issues that we've been dealing for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. So,
so being aware, just like you mentioned yourself, you said, well, it was way back when then that this was her big day. It was her, she was going into safety and which was really relevant at the time. But awareness there is really waking up and say, okay, is that still relevant in my world today?
Right, and the whole your half and you're his half, and you come together to become one.
Yeah,
that leads to divorce because, well, you're not half a person and he's not half a person. You're all full people, and it's a partnership. It's not a blending.
Yeah, and the result of this, and Monica, this is something that I've been really looking at, and I'm really been passionate about, and the change makers, we've been really looking at this. The result of all of these boxes are giving us access to human power at only the fraction, a small, tiny fraction of what they could do and give and accomplish into our world. And if we would be comparing that waste, I call it human waste, if we would be comparing that to food waste, do you see what we're doing?
Yeah.
And who is benefiting? Really?
Obviously nobody right now, because society is hurting on so many levels if you think about it. You guys in Europe are making a lot more progress than we've been making here when it comes to gender equality and that kind of stuff. And I'd like to talk about all of that as well next. But like you said, there's no benefit out of what's happening right now, and there's nothing helping us move forward. So your conversation, your points are vital for right now. So let's disseminate.
Move it on. and that's the beauty, Monica. Because what's just happening between you and me right now? I mean, you're in Texas. I'm in Iceland at the moment. We're having this beautiful conversation. So what would it be if we could invite people into a safe space, having that beautiful conversation, a conversation where you're not being judged. You're basically just observing. You're basically just looking at, I wasn't even aware that I had that. I wasn't even aware that this was my automatic reaction to something. And that's where it all starts. And that's why we created what we call No More Boxes Breakfast Club, a club where we get little, tight people to come in together, safe space, and we facilitate that, a conversation, and that is a breakthrough. It opened up for something, and when we have opened up for something, then there is time and there's space to bring something in, to call something in, and then we can call in the world that we want to create.
Absolutely. When you come into the U.S.?
I'm actually coming to the U.S. In November. Awesome. We're going, yeah. So yeah.
Let's put one of those together. Let's put one of those No More Boxes events together, because I would love to the more people understand that we're all one. And there's a thing from quantum entanglement that I love physics and love that, but we're all connected, like at a quantum level, at a very small subatomic level, we're all connected. So when one of us thinks of something good, it spreads without that person necessarily talking about it. So the more people talk about it, obviously, the faster it spreads, but we're connected and we resonate with each other. So basically think of when, you're thinking about somebody and that person calls you, that's quantum entanglement. So that's an example of quantum entanglement. It's spooky movement at a distance. It's what it's called with that. But my point is, we're all connected, and my point is that we all need to understand that we're all one, and not that many people have come to that realization so far. So the faster we bring awareness, I think the better it's going to be for all of us. So I can't wait to talk to you about it. We'll talk about it after about this. But okay, so the boxes movement is fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about. I want to go back a little bit into your background, and it seems like you started an investment, a women-led investment firm in Iceland. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. I know you moved away from that. I understand all of it. I get it. But can we quickly talk about that, because it's such an important factor for women to have access to money. And what we've seen so far is that about 2% of investors are decision-making levels are women, and therefore only about 2% of startups get funded. Women. So it's just, the numbers are so important to discuss. So talk to us about what the situation is in Iceland, and a little bit of NASCAR investments with a K,
NASCAR,
with a C.
With a K, NASCAR. NASCAR Investment, the company, we started it in the early days of 2008. We like to say sometimes it was about 15 minutes before the crash. If you remember the economic crash.
Yes, 100%.
So there was a group of women. We were coming from different angles in Iceland, but we were all part of the Association of Women Business Leaders, and we decided, we actually had heard about a concept similar to this one in one of the international conferences that we had attended. So that's where the idea came up, and then we partnered with the university in Reykjavik to set this whole thing up. And our mission was, from day one, was to use this as a platform to educate ourselves, to have fun, and to get the best investments. So there were three things that we wanted to do. And I'm telling you, in those past 10 years, we had monthly meetings. In every meeting we've had, it's been a floodgate of people. We've got the biggest CEOs in the companies. They want to come. They want to come for our lunch meeting, to have a conversation with us. So basically, it's not only been about us understanding more about investments and, we're all in business, or we all had something to do with investments, but this was a different angle to it. But we've also expanded our network.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm seeing a lot of, like, you coming from a lot of women-heavy companies, and so this movement with No More Boxes, did you get to that because you're seeing, we're talking equality, we're talking diversity when you're talking about hiring and company structure and all that, but you've seen that if we don't talk about the guys, if we don't talk about the men, we're not going to be able to achieve anything. So, but you guys have achieved, like, it seems like Iceland has it together. You're one of the most sustainable countries in the world. You're one of the highest levels of living, standards of living in the world. The women seem to flourish in Iceland from an outsider's perspective. I've never been. I would love to go. Everybody that's going there, it's like, you need to go, obviously. But my point is, it seems like you guys have achieved a balance, a homeostasis when it comes to equality within the country. It seems like that from the outside. Can you comment on it a little bit?
We have achieved quite a lot. We're still not there, but we definitely have achieved quite a lot. And I just want to share with you a couple of things that I think is really important. Things that I think have a huge influence in why we are where we are. Things like the first female president to be elected in a democratic country, Vigdís Finnbogadóttir, who was our president for, I think, 16 years. He was elected back in 1980. At that time, I didn't even have the right to vote. But I remember I wasn't old enough.
Okay.
But
like the Swiss situation where women.
Yeah, no. But I just wasn't old enough. I think I was lacking a few months or whatever. Anyway, so I remember the campaign and how she was treated in the campaign. She was a single mom with one daughter, and in 1980. Okay, let's go 1980. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 38 years ago. So at that time, the conversations in Iceland were, well, how are you going to be the president of a country and be a mother? And she very calmly said, well, I'm not going to breastfeed the country.
Very good point. Very good point. And it applies to the New Zealand president, right?
Yeah.
Prime Minister. So,
the Prime Minister,
she has a child.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Single. Well, she's not single. She's not married. She's the prime minister. Like, I'm going to take care of. I can do both. It's I can do both.
Exactly. We can do both, and especially here's again, especially how we treat our husbands for that as well.
Right.
Yeah. To allow them to be fathers.
And that's the very good point on what's happening in New Zealand right now. He's going to be a stay-at-home dad. Which
of course.
So much respect for the fact that he's even, not allowed to do that, but it's starting to become okay. I mean, by him doing that, it's kind of sending triggers through the society saying that, well, it's okay for you to stay at home when, she needs to run a country or a company or,
Exactly. But this, having Vigdís as our president, she became our role model. And I remember hearing her once saying, when I think she had been in office for 10 years or something like that, when she met, there was a father who came up to her with a story and told her, my son, I just was having a conversation with my son the other day, and he said to me, Dad, I can't become the president of Iceland. And he said, well, why can't you do that? Well, because the president is a woman.
Okay.
Role models. We need role models. We need role models like the husband of the Prime Minister in New Zealand, who just takes that. We need role models like basically on both gender. We need to see that, to see it's okay. People are accepted when they just follow what feels right for them, and they go ahead. But a role model is always someone that might be always someone that is doing things slightly different. But we have to look at that inside of ourselves. This is one of the reasons why I founded the Change Makers. Not only did I want to go into what is the change that I want to see, I want to be a good role model for my kids.
And I think it's super important.
And that's what at the end of the day, that's the legacy that if there is something that I can stir there, and I can make a person of two think about, I've been blind spotted by this thing, it doesn't suit me anymore, and I'm going to change it. Wow.
That's the goal, isn't it? That's
the goal. The goal is maybe slightly more than just one person. The goal is we the Change Makers, we want to reach 5 million people by the year 2020 and raise their awareness. That's a nice goal. Yeah.
It's a nice goal. And I think that what you just talked about, the role models, it's super important, because what we're doing, we're showing the women, right, the role models, because we're lacking that as women.
Yeah.
But so we're lacking the role models that basically, like women in business, women in tech, and STEM, and politics. They need to be shown that they exist first of all, and we need to talk about them. But the very important point that I'm trying to make right now is that we also need to show the guys. We need to talk to the guys that are like taking quote unquote non-conventional roles, like the partner, Jacinda's partner. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting her last name, but it's Jacinda something, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. We need to showcase him as well, because he's a regular guy. There's nothing weird about him, or like he's just married to a very strong political woman, but that doesn't mean anything else. And the fact that he's staying at home and to help raise the child doesn't mean that he's less of a guy. So that box needs to be thrown away quickly.
And here's the thing. Here's one thing that is coming my way when you're saying this. We're so used to talk about we need to push women forward, to show there are women out there. How about if we started to open up? We need to see more dads coming out and be fully a dad, the dads that they missed when they were growing up.
Correct. Yeah.
How about if we shift the focus, and we shift the focus around, and we start to talk about all of the beautiful things that fathers can do to their wives, to the partners, to their colleagues, to be considerate, to be kind, to allow themselves to be who they are, without any labels on themselves. And I think we're going to see a whole lot different world if we allow them that. Just as much as we want to make a statement and say it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman in that position, if it's the best person that come in for that job. And I think once we get that, Monica, we can relax a bit about moving women forward. It's going to happen automatically because it's a balance.
Right.
We need both gender anyway.
We do. And even if you not talk about anything else other than equality, right, of work, you're not going to achieve that without participation from the men.
Of course.
It's just not going to happen. So what we're doing, we're showcasing women and all that stuff, because we need to be showing the world, the guys and the girls, that here's more role models and they're perfectly fine being women in business. And I want to show the men that, hey, there's options for these other positions that you have open. You don't necessarily have to hire a guy. And it's a massive issue with technology and all that stuff. With, with how we're building technology with no women basically in a lot of the boards. Yeah. But besides that, let's go to let's talk a little about your book, The Story of Boxes. Let's talk a little bit about that. Dive in. Tell us what's it about, obviously.
Well, I can tell you this book, writing this book, it's really opened up a lot of boxes for myself that I wasn't aware of. And it has also, I'm slightly vulnerable myself because I'm sharing very delicate stories about my own life in the book that has to do with relationship and being a woman in a relationship and the box that I was in as a woman in a relationship. And it has to do with, basically, I think everyone can in one way or another find some story in the book that is going to either relate to their own life or they can see something, I never looked at it this way. It's just like with Her Day and His Last Day of Freedom. I never looked at it this way. But it isn't until we look at it that way that we see, even sometimes I just think, if we would be doing everything like we used to do.
It doesn't work. You have to change constant.
Yeah. I mean, so the book has really been a transformative journey for me. And looking into, as we've been really researching and looking into the drivers behind this behavior. Why are we doing this? And we're doing it on autopilot. It really comes back to something that has to do not only with your life, it has to do with your ancestor life, it has to do with your, and I'm not just talking about your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, we're going way, 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 way back. Right. But it is our choice today for each and every single one of us to look at, is that something that I need to bring forward?
I can't wait to read it. I'm super excited about seeing it and literally cannot wait to read it. All right, so give us an event. Tell us something that set you onto this path. What was the trigger point that made all of this kind of come into focus and, you're like, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm doing.
That whole event that took place at the United Nations that I told you about, it really opened my own eyes. I've been, it was like, have you ever heard when people say that, hey, it was like a download? Mm-hmm. That's what happened for me. And in the United Nations, out of all places, getting a download. Anyway.
But that's the place actually, right? Isn't it?
It is. And it made all the senses. It made sense to me. I've been really scratching my head, looking at things. No. This just can't continue this way that we are doing. We have to look at what is best for humanity, what is best for our planet, what is best for our future, and wake up from that sleep. We're sleepwalking.
We are sleepwalking.
And do something about it. And here's the thing. When we do the No More Boxes Breakfast Club and other breakthrough events on the No More Boxes, that's where we are giving people the opportunity to talk, because what happens when we talk, we are not only hearing ourselves and realizing this is where our thoughts are, we're also emptying out something that is in our head. We're emptying it out in order to be able to take something new thing in. So that's That's what we're basically are doing. We are creating safe space for people to do that. And and from there, you can really start to design what is the change that you want to be in your world, and what is your role.
It's beautiful. I'm like I said, I'm super excited to read the book and then to come to one of the events. Actually, help you put together something for
yes. We just have to create an event, Wonder Women and Men event. How wonderful would that be?
Very good use of the pun. All of that. All right, so I want to. So we're having a little bit of a side podcast called Women 101. So it's focused basically on improving the lives of women at work. And we need one thought on that from you.
Oh my God. Oof. One thought. I could give you a whole book probably around that.
Please do, if you can. Whatever's coming top of consciousness to improve the lives of women.
Yeah.
At work.
There is one thing and that is coming my way as you're saying this, and I'm assuming that your listeners are familiar with the term treat others like they want to be treated.
Like you want to be treated, yeah.
I wanted to change that. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. Treat others like you want to be treated.
Correct, yeah.
I think that is an absolute doesn't have anything to do with the reality.
Okay, what do you mean?
Treat people like they want to be treated. After all, if you start to listen, really deeply listen to the person next to you, and you start to pay attention to what they're saying, and you react to what they're saying without your own agenda, but into their agenda, you're not only changing their lives, you're changing your life. And that has to do with workplace. Oh my God, yeah. The boxes that we have created in the workplace is suffocating people. They're suffocating them because not only are they coming in with some invisible role, if you're a woman or if you're a man, is one thing, but then role of this is your job prescription. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And again, the businesses are using a fraction of the talent of each and every person in that place because they're basically taking that road of looking at the old way, the old structure, and not emerging it with what is it that this person loves to do? What lights their fire? What would make them want to go to work? And basically not only want to go to work, but they're loving their job so much that they are advocating for that brand into their environment. They're feeling fulfilled. Have you seen? When I'm done with changing the world with the No More Boxes movement, I'll go into this thing.
I don't think that's going to happen because we always see.
But if I would like to see businesses, when you go to a website and there's about us and they have something there. I absolutely love those very few businesses that talk about their employees with not about what their education is or what their background is, but what they love to do. That gives them that instantly that feeling that, oh, this is a person. Ooh, there's something there that, yeah, I feel connected. I don't feel connected if I get all the acronyms behind the name, MBA, PhD, It doesn't connect with me. The only thing it tells me they spend a lot of time in university.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't tell me, what they love. It doesn't tell me, they can have all those acronyms behind, all the letters behind them. But if they would be, and absolutely has a passion for Italian food, woo! It made that picture all of a sudden changed into a person.
Yeah.
And there are those little things that I think businesses in the IT world, we're all in the IT world, all on the World Wide Web, they can change, and then they're transforming their brand for the outside world, making the outside world want to do business with them.
It's beautiful on every level, on helping women at work and on brand transformation and becoming more human. And that actually is super important right now, because our next generation, the current generation of consumers, the millennials, and actually women as well, they connect better. They promote brands that have exactly what you mentioned, this human aspect to them. It's not just a corporation that's behind a wall, behind a website, and that's it. No, it's that flow of energy, because we're still talking energy in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
That goes between, like, once the corporations start opening up and showing us that they're human, now that alone attracts consumers to them. So super massively important point. I have two last questions. I'm so sorry, because I know I promised you to be done in an hour, but I have two final questions if we have time. First of all, besides your book, which is going to be recommended with everybody, like, we're going to have a link to that on the podcast and whenever your book comes out, what book made an impact on you, and what book, if it's another book, what book would you gift the most? So two books that, well, actually, at least one book that made an impact on you.
There are two books that come up very randomly when you ask me that question. I'm just going to answer it very spontaneously as I am sitting here right now in there. Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. That book says so much about boxes, how we're automatically doing things without being, I think it's just that we're on autopilot when we need to stop, breathe, and then take a look. That has definitely had an impact on me and gave me a lot of aha. Another book that is Delivering Happiness, that tells the story of Sappos. That I think the courage that Tony Heath and his team built up to build a business that was really all around the values, the business value, the values that they collectively created, and really holding themselves committed to in everything that they do, that stands out. That's a courage. They are change makers. So those two are the books that pop up instantly, and of course I love the book like Think and Grow Rich and
right.
You'll find piles of books on my desk all the time.
Those are beautiful books. All three of them, actually, they're beautiful books. I actually have Blink somewhere around here. Anyway, the absolute last question is about the message that you would want to put up in the world. Think of it as a billboard. So think about where you're going to put a billboard and what message you would put on a billboard. So it could be anywhere, and it can say anything. What is the one thing, the most important thing that you want to deliver?
Wow, that's such a good question, Monica. So, here's what's coming to me when you're saying that. I would like to have on that billboard. Would you like to be living in a world where you have the freedom to show and express the value that you were born with? If the answer is yes, which I dearly hope you would like to, then make sure you come and you start to look at what you can do about it. And the change makers are there for you to help you do that. But that's what we want to create. A world where you have the freedom to express the value and be who you really are.
I can't go any better than that. We're just going to end it there because that is absolutely beautiful. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming to our podcast and not just being here, but being fully here, fully present, and fully communicating with us. And huge thank you for it. And I want to say thanks for everybody also that tuned in. I hope you're listening to what Runa was saying. And we'll have all of Runa's information at the bottom of the podcast. But Runa, how are they going to be able to get in touch with you?
2 ways. They can go to my website, runamagnus.com, and contact me there. And I also want to invite them to take a look at the No More Boxes movement.com, where they can find everything about the movement, what we're all about, and even go and get access to be part of the pre-launch of the book, and might even get a free copy of the book. So yeah, I invite you to come and go for a visit.
Awesome. We'll have all that information with the bottom of the podcast. And once again, thank you so very much, Runa. And I hope you're having a great rest of the day. And goodbye, everybody. And thank you so much, Runa. Bye.
Bye.
Top of the world, top of the pop the.
Thanks everybody for tuning in today. The music for our podcast is graciously provided by our very own Wonder Woman, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. Check out her music and get your free music bundle at cbemusic.com. This is our podcast for today. Remember to head on over to ifundwomen.com/projects/business-magazine-women, or you can check out the bottom of the podcast and check out our projects and invest in us so that we can continue to showcase the women that will inspire this and the next generation. Looking forward to seeing you all next time. And this is Wonder Woman Podcast signing off. Bye for now, and remember to subscribe. Bye.